Fighting Voices
Hi guys, how are you?
99 special report with Ramesh. And Ramesh has something to say about the identity crisis and how it relates to stuttering world.
We're going to talk about self-identity. This is an important concept in stuttering because as stutterers, I think we put too much emphasis on us being stutterers. We put an identity here to us as being stutterers, and with that identity we get trapped in the mindset of that we're not great speakers. But I think that over time, in order to sort of recover from stuttering, you have to get rid of the self-identity, because with that you'll become a better speaker, because you've sort of dissolved yourself, you've dissolved your stuttering personality. In the book by John Harrison, it mentions that 85% of stutterers are highly sensitive in terms of our personality, and also it mentions there's a lot of self-identity issues within our community, and I think this is very important. But over time, with your recovery, you'll become a better speaker, because you will get rid of that stuttering ID that you've built up for many years, and your identity will be like, I am a fluent speaker, I'm a powerful speaker, which I believe I am now.
You definitely are. Oh, dude, you talking complicated stuff. You have to break it down for me. So, if I would imagine what you just said, well, I think you need to break it down to me in, let's say, 5 steps. I know that you invented assertive self-acceptance.
Yeah.
So it's your thing, right? So and now you're talking about like doing it in reverse, but it's a steps to it, like levels to it. So where would you put assertive self-acceptance? On step 1, step 2?
I think assertive self-acceptance should be the first thing.
Right.
Because if you don't accept yourself, you will never benefit from any speech therapy program. You have to accept that you're a stammerer. That's at the beginning of your journey. In 2017, I thought I need to become a better speaker. So I joined the speech therapy program in order to work on my speech and to reach at this level where I can do podcasts pretty fluently.
Speech what program?
Speech therapy program.
You mean Maguire?
Yeah.
Exclusively for people who stutter.
Yeah.
So out of all self-improvement places, you picked the one which addresses your issue, right? Which
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. Yeah, well, okay, since we're talking about Maguire, how does Maguire deals with identity?
It deals with it by exposure therapy, which is overkilling the situation. Because the more times we do a situation, it becomes our comfort zone. And with that sort of comfort zone, our fear levels decrease, which means that we get more fluent speech.
Right, so basic psychotherapy, you identify a person's fear, and then you break it down into little steps for a patient to take him to face that fear.
Yeah, small baby steps.
Right.
And do the easier things first. Speak to your friends and family, then move on to more difficult things like going to shops.
Right, and the idea is, at the end, is to help a person to realize that most of his fears or her fears were irrational to begin with, but in order to understand that, you have to face them. We can't face all the scariest things right away. Baby steps, absolutely right.
Yeah,
So-
because you have to make small steps into your fear.
Right. Baby step number 1 is identifying the fear, and the fear of speaking.
Of course.
This is stuttering thing. We have a fear of speaking. We have a fear of blocking, and we have a fear of non-blocking. Ask any person who stutter, I'll give you a pill right now and you won't stutter anymore. Everyone like lately it tells me no, I will keep in my stutter and it kills my personality. That means like you are not ready to really fight the fight.
Yeah,
Like,
because
it's a, what's it called? I'm sorry, go on.
yeah, because I think that that's one of the biggest fears of stammers. When I used to wake up, always used to fear situations. What am I going to be like at work? What am I going to be like with my family? What am I going to be with my friends? I think these are the biggest sort of fears when a stutterer wakes up. But now I don't really think about it. I feel happy. I feel liberated. I'm free. But I think I've been on my journey for 2 years now, and I worked very hard.
I have a question. I remember the word. I remembered, and now I have a question. I'm going to use that word. Ramesh, do you have a Stockholm syndrome about stuttering?
Stockholm syndrome. What do you mean?
It's when you become a hostage. So you were taken, you were kidnapped. But while you're living with your takers for a long time, you become to sympathize to the problems, like the feelings, and you kind of forgetting that they're keeping you there in a way.
Yeah, so Stockholm syndrome is when you had the fear and you stayed in that.
When you start to fall in love with your torturers,
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I think most stutterers get beaten by their stutters at some point. Wouldn't you agree?
I think to the point of a Stockholm syndrome, like almost every time. And well, I was there. I thought all stuttering made me a better person, made me more intuitive, made me more this, more. Maybe not. Maybe it stopped me from being better person. You know, stuttering didn't add anything good to me. It just added bad things, and I did like things I'm not proud of, like out of necessity of giving in to this fucking stuttering, but no more. Lion sleeps no more.
I think what
You
you're
know who I'm
speaking
talking
is.
to, right?
I think what we're speaking to is or about is the issue that we mentioned earlier on about our stutter being our identity. When it becomes your identity, you really go through a lot of pain because it's not something that you can overcome very quickly. It's years of hard work, and I'm still working on my speech. And I think with that pain, it just eats into your ego, and then you start to struggle, and then your suffering gets deeper, and then the pain gets more because our brain has proliferated on the issues.
Well, yeah. Sad story at the end. Yeah, nothing pretty about it, right? But it's like all a result. We need to find a cause of it, right? So why stuttering bothers us? Because we have a self-image of ourselves, of being something entirely else, of not what we really are.
Of course,
So,
it's become a psychological issue within us.
right, so I think I'm something else, not me, right? And that kind of, it's not a complete of separation like a schizophrenia or bipolar, but I have a wrong image about myself as a person who stutters to begin with, because I think that stuttering is not okay and I shouldn't do it, but it's okay in a way. But then you go into levels of stuttering. So if I would prolong or repeat sounds, right? Is it stuttering? No. For a person who's stuttering, but if I would block, that would qualify me for myself as a stutterer. And when I block, I'm not comfortable with me being myself and the image of those two. Everyone's
Self-actualization circles.
self-actualization circles. The image of the perception of yourself and the perception of others. If those things don't match, you are not self-actualized person as who you
so
are.
where are you now?
But to move those circles together, I should first understand to who I am first, right? And then I can try to lapse those circles. So in my case, I had to self-accept that I'm a person who stutters, that I have a problem.
With my journey, the circles actually came together. It's a journey.
That's why
I
you're so
think the more time you speak like this and you use voluntary stuttering or deliberate disfluency, the more you desanitize your ego. Yeah, so your circles come together and you become self-accepting as stammerer. And then with that, your speech becomes better. In one of your videos, I was watching that your disfluency makes you fluent, doesn't it? You were speaking about it on your DD video. You have to embrace disfluency in order to get fluency.
Right. Well, using a technique always deliberate disfluency. It's always an act of deliberate disfluency. What we do on Maguire course is just exaggerated to just deliberate disfluency. Like as a special exercise, like everything on maximum. But any technique you deliberately doing can be called a deliberate disfluency. That only become available after a disclosure for a person who is still trying to self-actualize as a person who stutters.
I think for myself, I do use voluntary stuttering all of the time, even before I have a disclosure, because when you meet people for the first time, it's always best to advertise that you have a stutter. Then it's more easy to do the disclosure. Both of those things, voluntary stuttering and disclosure, are psychological weapons, aren't they?
Yes. It's a two ways of doing the same thing. There was a time when I thought that there is only one right way to do a disclosure is to tell people about it. But then the more I thought about it, the more I spoke to people, the more I read about it, I think there are actually two ways. Yes, deliberate disfluency and physical disclosure. They are not, one doesn't exempt the other.
And another,
They work better when they're done together.
yeah, I agree
Like
with
you're
you.
doing.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important in order to use these techniques when you are doing overkill, because you're advertising that you have a stutter. And the more times you do that, the more you become stronger. It's exposure therapy, because the more time you are in the event, your speech becomes better. The more people you speak to, your speech will become better.
Exposure, yes, exposure therapy on the word Raduga again. Raduga.
Yeah, because with John Harrison in his book, he mentions that stuttering is a problem which is caused by social interaction. I agree with him there. Would you? We're scared to speak to people, even those people up there behind the bushes, or
Well, yeah.
people we meet tonight.
Yes, it's stuttering is a symptom of overall communication disorder, and speech out of overall communication is only 20%.
Of course.
Yes.
Never about eye contact, about your body posture, about how you communicate through non-verbal communication.
Yes.
Could be anything. Body posture is very important, eye contact, even listening. Because one thing I've been working on since the last video is my listening skills, which you can probably understand.
Yeah, I have no patience. Yeah, listening, it's a skill one have to master, and not only trying to prepare what you have to say like after, like or filling in all the pauses. That's a bullshit. Also, it's a part of a communication disorder. Like, I'm not the best communicator out there. Like, I get too passionate sometimes, or sometimes I talk things I should be more careful about, and I say it's like nothing to me.
And from my experience, I think with us as stutterers, I think we can speak more than listen to people, because we're always in a panic. We have to say what we want to say. But listening is very important, because if you're communicating with somebody, you need an emotional attachment, because that will give you more assertiveness. I know we discussed this yesterday on the Stop Holding Back WhatsApp group about us and women. I think if you speak to a woman in a relationship, if you show interest, if you show that you've got other characteristics, that is more important than having a stutter. If you've got the right personality and you're a caring person, you listen to people, you give them happiness, that is the main thing. Because I think as stutterers we can sometimes forget about that intercommunication thing.
Yeah, we definitely give too much meaning to stuttering as a part of our speech. Like, if I would pay less attention to it, I would control it. I would try to control it less. And as a result of me trying to control it less, I would have fluency. Right.
And this is where I've sort of come in, because I've learned a lot in Buddhism philosophy. And one of the things is you have to lose your identity by not thinking about I stutter, my stutter, our stutter, or making it something which is internal. Because if you get rid of that, myself, Ramesh stutter, and you start thinking about yourself as other things like being a brother, being a son, being a friend, having a family, having a partner, these things matter more to me than my personality as a stutter. But I've been on my journey for a couple of years now.
But chimp is strong.
But you can desanitize it over time. Last time we spoke about chimp paradox. I think that chimp can disappear. Those words in your head can disappear if you focus on yourself. I think meditation helps. I think mindfulness and other things, affirmations, visualizations, and other things can really support you in your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, when the chimp is no longer lonely, right? Maybe for a chimp you have to find for him a chimp to hang out with. No one thought of that. Well, and then two egos collide, right? They fight. No.
Yeah, I think...
Keep your chimps apart.
I think one of the things that they talk about in Buddhism is that you can control the chimp. You can really control it. If you meditate 30-45 minutes a day, your mind becomes more still. And it's a journey. I'm still on my journey. I'm still getting better at communicating. I watched my videos from a year ago and I thought my communication was a little bit long-winded. Now I'm trying to become more specific. What do you think? Can you notice that?
Yes.
We're on a journey, aren't we?
Yes.
And where I am in 6 months' time, I will be in a very different place to where I am now.
I think talking about Buddhism, it's just the preparation for Zen. Like, Zen is a step up, I think. Because Zen has a thing that you do things for just for the purpose of doing thing. You know, so if I would start to inflate a tire, I would deflate it to a maximum, like a Zen style. You do everything to a maximum. You ride the road to, like, on the highway of Valhalla, straight to hell. You do it the Zen way. You do it all the way. So if you chill, like, and then if you relax, you also give everything away, like your ego.
Yeah, because for me, one of the most important techniques I learned is Eckhart Tolle's present moment. Well, I think you got to think about how you're talking now. Now, in the present moment, it's a Saturday evening. We're in London, where I'm talking. You can't think about what happened at 3 o'clock this afternoon or 3 o'clock tomorrow, because your journey is at the now. What you're doing at 3 o'clock has led to where you are now. Yeah, so my fluency is here now, but at 3 o'clock it might have been different. So you can only move forward if you embrace personal development. So where you are in the present moment is an important concept.
Oh, Ramesh, maybe we were wrong all along. Center and clarify, right? The same thing you just mentioned. So why we're doing it, what we're doing it, working on our speech at that moment. Is it possible that technique puts us in the present moment? So when we assertively apply the technique, that exercise, and when we're doing center and clarify, that puts us right in the present where we should be.
Well,
so I thought that we use the techniques to mimic stuttering, to desensitize ourselves to it. But, well, that for sure. But maybe the other coin would be the techniques puts us in the present moment.
Of course, we spoke about this on the London course last year, where when we do coastal breathing and when we use the weapons of hit and hold and block release and deep and breathy tone, it puts us in the current moment because we embrace that we are stutterers and we're using our technique.
All right. So okay.
We spoke about that. I think you remember that, don't you?
Nope, I don't remember.
We put on the mask of being a stutterer again.
So wait a second. Right. So if we establish that, right, that should be true. That using techniques puts us in present moment, and that's why we don't stutter. It also helps us to desensitize ourselves to the fear of stuttering and speaking in general, and it works too, right? But okay, now I know that.
Because you have to be conscious that you're a stutterer, otherwise you'll never make your speech good.
Right. I would need to use more of those techniques to prove myself that they work, right? But if I would trust them, like, okay guys, from now on I believe that you guys work. I'm not going to challenge you techniques, guys. I know you work every time. So I don't have to, like check, are you charged like batteries? No. That technique works because it's a psychological, physical at the same time, works on two levels. It works on putting me in the present, and it works on desensitizing. I know that, hold on. But now, since I know that, would I do it 10 times more? Why would I? No. I should stop right here and move on. So how I move on from stop using a technique? Only when I put myself in the present moment without using a technique.
No, because I think.
And when I tell people that I stutter without doing a deliberate disfluency. See?
Yeah.
Being in present and doing a disclosure equalizes putting yourself in the present by doing deliberate disfluency. Same result.
Yeah, it's a very important thing. Because when you start building the stuttering mindset that I am a stutterer and I'm going to stutter sometimes. No, not I am a stutterer. I'm a person who's going to stutter sometimes. That's very important.
I'm a person who has a genetically stuttering gene, so I would stutter no matter what I do in
I
life.
think different stutterers are different.
Right. But what would make me different that I will work on my speech in terms of not blocking anymore. This is the one thing I self-inflicted prophecy on myself when I back down on a sentence that Alex, you talk funny. I believed in it, and that was my mistake.
I see.
If I wouldn't say like, what are you talking about? I talk funny, like I talk just like you, motherfucker, right? That would never make me block. But then I became self-conscious about my stuttering, and then at that moment when first blocks I create. But you know.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to become conscious to speech. I speak about this with Ramesh Shiva. The more conscious you are, the more you can
Rama,
improve.
friend. Yeah, go on.
Hi Rama.
Hey,
Yeah, so basically with
stuttering
you,
mind.
stuttering mind, we'll be there next month, won't we? Will you be there with us?
If I get the invitation.
Rama, we need an invitation
Secret. Oh, is it a secret?
here. Yeah, so in terms of things, I
Go
think,
to Ramesh Shiva's Stuttering Mind website and go check it out.
yeah, most definitely. And I think once you become more sort of conscious that you got a stammer, the more you can work on things, because you're conscious that you have a block, you're observant of when you have a stutter, where you stammer, and all these things, how you stammer, so you can get a lot more better. It's about being in the conscious that you get better. If you're unconscious, you're probably ignorant or living in denial or avoiding. That is not good, because then you're psychologically will proliferate stuttering. Would you agree?
Totally agree, and it's okay to be it's okay to be the like for a while, but not forever. I mean, I've been in the hole. I know how it feels. I came out of it, thank God. You came out of it also, like obviously, and that's like what makes us the best podcast in the world.
Yeah, it's a very good podcast. I was watching a podcast with you and Eugene and Tom last week.
Last one.
Yeah,
Did you like
was that
it?
last week? Yeah, that was a very good podcast. What number are we on now?
The last one was 17.
This one's 18.
This one is not Finding Voices podcast. I don't have my team. It's a special report on you, dude. It's all you today.
Oh.
I'm just asking you questions, learning some wisdoms, and reporting it.
Yeah, so is there another question you want to ask?
Glad to have you. Yes. I don't know anyone who has a strong self-identity, stuttering or not. Maybe a couple of people out of 1,000 who knows who they are. How about you, Ramesh?
What do you mean? You don't know anybody who hasn't got a
No, I
self-identity?
mean who really do what they like in life.
No, because
Like,
I
look,
think
I might be. I like to fish. No. I don't. I like to play billiards, right? But I do finance. I'm good at finance.
yeah, I think you're
Almost as good as I play billiards. You know. But I would probably do better in a billiard business.
good. No, because with my understanding here is that every individual has a conditioning. Every individual is limited by time, by resources, by skill. Yeah, so what happens is that we basically get stuck with what we got, which means that sometimes humans don't achieve their potential.
Right, and
We never find what we're good at sometimes.
right. So, like, my point was that I self-identify myself as an analyst, as a problem solver, right? As a researcher. It's like I have no unsolvable problems. The stuttering was always the one that was like a mystery to me. You know, like no one could help me, no one this and that. But now I see how wrong I was about the whole thing. I wish I would accepted my stuttering earlier. And I think me being fluent is just boring.
No, you're not.
But me being a person who stutter and being fluent, that's some exciting shit right there.
Of course.
Just like you know, like I think that you, Ramesh, is the most shining person in the stuttering world ever,
Appreciate it. Thank you. It means a lot to me.
and you should stick to that identity, maybe.
Yeah, I always appreciate that I'm a stutterer. Always. I work hard on my speech, but I am a person with a stutter. And I will always be proud of having that. But I'm working on myself. I'm moving ahead in life. It's not my identity really now, but it's something that I will always be. Because having a stutter will start my journey.
Right. So explaining it in the words of Stockholm syndrome. What happened to us? We were kidnapped by stuttering. We were tortured by it for a long, long time. For so long, we decided that that is our life.
Of course.
So we're
Me
staying
too.
here. So we started to kind of like it, right?
Yeah,
in
of
a way,
course.
and to look a good size, even in bed. And we found some. Maybe we learned something questionably. Maybe not. So, but then maybe we were saved, or maybe we escaped. You probably escaped. I probably escaped.
Yeah.
No, I was saved. No, what I'm talking about.
Well-
I was taken to therapy by a hand,
Well,
which helped.
I think what you're talking about
Yeah,
is this.
I was saved, dude. Maybe you escaped. So
We both
hold on,
escaped the jungle.
Hold on. No, yes. So I was saved by a helicopter. You escaped yourself. So and then after a while we realized that we were captured, right?
Well, yeah, most
So
definitely.
we went to psychological treatment to deal with the psychological trauma, which left a physical effects on us, right? So we dealt with it, but now we at the end of the journey of recovery. Like
Of course, we're at the end of our recovery.
We're at the end, right? So at the very end, you're almost as new as good as you were before you were captured. Almost in the same condition. Hold on, dude.
Okay,
And now you
I
have a
listen.
choice.
listening.
You have a choice now. Very difficult one. You can pretend that all that never happened to you, which would be a complete denial, but you'll be okay. Or you can take it with you and be okay with you carrying this baggage.
Of course.
I think, I think I'm forced to carry this baggage, which is absolutely okay with me. This carriage is no longer that heavy because I know how to carry this shit, how to make it easier, how to use leverage here and there, so I'm okay with carrying it. I'm not okay with the denial option.
What happened in our journey was this, I think. and I'm going to explain this very simply. What happened was that we reached a point where we were struggling, where we were suffering in life. Our pain threshold reached the end, and then we thought we have to work on this. So we started to work on it by using technique, using different breathing, meeting stammers like Ao and Ruben and Eugene and Tom and Simon, these people
Chris.
who we've been working with. And I think we reached a certain point and we had to surrender to it. And I think once we surrendered, it was very important.
Yeah, I think we, like when we are in denial, we have to discover ourselves for ourselves. And I was in denial for a long time because I had no idea how to approach the issue. Like my thoughts, my wrong fixed beliefs about stuttering were holding me back from recovery. I was doing everything in reverse.
Yeah, and the main thing is, so to reach the pain threshold, and then you got to surrender. Because when you surrender, then you reach a decent point. It's only when you have surrendered to stuttering, that's when you can make your speech a lot more better. You have to be conscious to it. It's even what Eckhart Tolle mentions, you got to surrender. Because when you have surrendered, then you overcome stuttering, then you become enlightened as a person.
Right, so basically accepting things we cannot change, right, and change things we don't want to accept.
Yeah, because you have
Like
to
stuttering.
accept life. Not everybody's perfect. Everybody is suffering from different things, and we are better than some people and worse off than others. We are in relation to the 6 or 7 billion people living here.
Yeah, I accept the fact that I was captured and tortured by stuttering. I accept that happened. But what not I'm accepting anymore is being a victim of it when the door is open. You know,
And
that's the idea of being in a recovery mode.
yes, you have to go on a journey. It's a journey, isn't it? If you hear us now compared to where we were 9 months ago, my last podcast, we're in a different place, aren't we?
Right. So
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. But I think when I disappear out of this podcast, when I lose interest completely, and I become unreachable, I think that what when I would become completely fluent.
But really, we are using this sort of platform now to
Yes.
help people who have
To
a
help
stutter.
myself,
Yeah,
me,
and to help ourselves, but to also help others who are on their journey, so we can inform people of our journey. This is an informative podcast, isn't it? But it's also
Our
as part
podcast
of
is
our
just the
journey.
best.
It's also part of our journeys of working on our speech and living life and informing people about our lives.
Right. So how I work on my speech when you're around, and why you're around. I like you, Ramesh. I think you're a smart dude. So how you helping me? Well, first of all, you told me to aim for fluency. Perfect advice. Great advice. And I know that the way me and you will work, I give you idea. You give a different angle. Give me another idea. I bounce it back, and then they collide into some result me and you wouldn't come up on their own, maybe. You know.
Yeah, me and you have sort of bounced ideas off each other through thinking about Alan Watts, thinking about Eckhart Tolle, thinking about the Buddha, Jesus Christ. We've looked into philosophies, haven't we? And also John Harrison in his book,
Yeah,
Redefining Stuttering.
Carl Jung,
Carl Jung.
Lipton, Peterson, who else? Dale Carnegie. Fuck his name. Yeah.
We've been for a lot of
Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. It's a Russian
But I
dictator.
think the person that's really helped me most is Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, and Susan Jeffers. Susan Jeffers is very good, isn't she?
Yes, yes,
In her
yes,
book,
yes.
it's a very simple book to understand. Yeah. Chimp paradox is okay.
Yes, Eckhart Tolle, yeah, he's well, it's a Power of Now.
Yeah, power now.
I know him from my Power of Now, and he helped me to catch myself in the moment. And if you go to speak in van therapy, she teaches let it be, let it go. So being in the moment. Oh, we already discussed it. And
You gotta let it go. And one thing I'd like to also speak about is, I was speaking to another stammerer about this, and the issue was that I think as stutterers, we are craving our stutters. We are really sort of thinking about our stutters way too much, and this weighs into our identity. So what I've also said is to get rid of the identification
Hold on, but the only
by
go on.
losing attachment. with stuttering.
Sorry, dude. I thought you were finished. The only reason why we think about stuttering too much is because we don't want to stutter.
Yeah, because of fear of speaking.
Because the fear of speaking and the wrong image of
Most of the
ourselves
research behind
and
stuttering
yes, and
points
the
us
wrong.
out the fear of speaking.
Well, the fear of speaking is a general problem, which is resulting in over-controlled speech. Over-controlled speech resulting into stuttering. But all this process, it has two major reasons. One is genetics, and one is a personality reason.
Yeah.
So whatever personality status the best, you have it. Me have it. And then the reasons why we block this psychological the end result over fuck you. The diamond of it has three reasons. We hide in our stuttering, that makes us block. We give too much meaning to stuttering, that makes us block. And we avoid doing shit, that makes us block. But what makes a block is over-controlled speech. So all these three reasons, hiding, meaning, and avoidance, that's the reasons why we over-control our speech.
Yeah, because I think it's related to the fight or flight process, isn't it?
Fight or flight is amygdala versus hyacinth
Versus the cortex.
No. Cortex has nothing to do with. It has to do with Maguire. No cortex. Hyacinth or huyalis. Something like that. Amygdala, see it as a stress muscle.
Yeah.
Right, so more stress, more post-traumatic stress disorder we have, the more it grows. Well, it grows as a thing that goodness, this hyalis or huyasis brain, it shrinks. The problem with amygdala, it goes to a size and it stays that size. But this goodness thing, we can make it bigger. So to overcompensate, overkill, overdo what we do. It all depends on how big your post-traumatic stress disorder size is.
Yeah, of course, I agree with you.
So you have to overkill that much, and we did that much,
Yeah.
right? If you like covert, you kind of have a couple of words. Maybe it will be easier for you, maybe harder, questionable. But amygdala and well, that's it. Now what you said was anyway, that's how it works.
Have you got any more questions?
Fuck.
On anything?
No.
Huh?
You?
No, not really. Yeah, so what is the future of finding voices?
Future, everyone. Future, we find the.
Or finding voices? Because it was been 9 months since I last appeared.
Oh, we've been great. We're doing shit. We're active. We're staying connected. We in the middle of a fight always. Yeah.
Your last video is very good. I
Thank you.
enjoyed Tom Wheeler's wisdom.
Tom is genius. Eugene is a
Legend.
legend. Yeah. Yeah. It's, lucky me. I'm just the lucky. Okay, what else? You have any questions to me?
Not really.
So, self-identity crisis. Have we solved it?
I think you have.
I think the best. I mean, the easiest way is to self-identify yourself as a person who started.
It's a great starting
That's
point.
what I do. Yeah, and I have no idea who the fuck I am or what the hell I am. You know? But I'll just put a flag right there. That's me, person who started, and I'll start and building from here, and not treating everything around me as and the stuttering as excuse not to do what's around me. No, but I should do everything and give myself a credit that I did it, even though I have a stutter. You know. Basically overcompensating my amygdala big time. No holding back. Maybe I'll ask a doctor to surgically remove a part of it, like a PTSD. Fuck it. No, I'm kidding.
Now you have to work on yourself, work on your inner self, become liberated by understanding that everybody has a suffering. Keep on working on your speech. It's a lifelong journey.
Everyone has a problem. Everyone has something broken.
Everybody suffers from something. Other people have hearing loss, or they're blind, or they've got dyslexia, or they've got not a lot of money. Everybody has different problems.
In the stuttering world, I think I have an advantage. Like, it's obviously what's wrong with me. Like, here you go. That's the thing that like the worst in me. This, you know, take it or leave it.
Yeah. You
And,
gotta
and that,
let it be,
yeah,
let it go, live in peace.
let it self-identify. Yeah, like why am I here?
It's a
What am
journey.
I doing in this world? Like, Ramesh, why are you here? Like, I know the answer for myself why I'm here.
I think I'm here to help people. Having a stutter has made me more compassionate. I understand other people more. I want to help people more. This is why I make these videos, is to help people who have a stutter.
I think universe created me because it looks like me, and then I came out of it as a part of it, so it can take a look at itself.
We're just a
So
part, I agree.
for me to look at myself, that's me looking at the universe, right? And there's so many angles in me I don't explore. I stuck on this thing stuttering, but it has to be addressed. I can't be in denial.
As people, we're just a form of the universe. We're just a form. We're here for a limited amount of time.
I think we should open more doors.
Yeah, and I hope these videos do open more doors that will help stutterers, because it's a Good Friday today, and we've really come here to work on our speech and to give people our wisdom of our journey.
Have you seen the movie Cabin in the Woods?
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods.
I've heard about it.
This is the best scary movie, if you want to call it, but it's not scary when you watch it till the end. It's so imagine yourself, you go into the zoo, to the mind of a Dr. Parnassus, where all the animals on the view, it's your fears. All of them. So all you do is you walking into this zoo of horrible fucking monsters, which you imagine, all this and that. So this is half of it. And then imagine opening all the doors at the same time.
Everybody has different fears. Some people are scared of speaking like us, or we were not used to speaking, but also in terms of other things, such as the fear of heights, or the fear of rain, or the fear of OCD is a fear, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. All irrational fears. So when you open all the doors of the horror zoo of your subconscious, and when all these scary monsters come to you out of the darkness, when they come into the light, it's a bunnies who wants to hug you and kiss you.
And it's the same thing with stuttering.
Same shit.
You need exposure to your fear. Keep on speaking, keep on interacting, keep on using it as experience. It is experience that counts. It's experience that will make us better. Don't just see it as a speaking situation.
Experience has to be right. Yes, has to be right. So as an exercise, right? So what experience we're looking for? Experience number 1. Tell somebody that you stutter.
Yeah.
Experience number 2. Use technique of your choice, whatever you use. What the fuck? What do you want? This kind of shit.
Not because for me,
I'll use a fluency.
what my experience is, how have I spoken in that situation? So, for example, when I have a stutter, why am I stuttering? When am I stuttering? What has caused this? Or how am I speaking with Alex on the camera? How am I interacting with this phone which is recording me? These things are experience. So when I'm on it next time, I'm in a better place. I analyze this. I get better. I keep on getting better. Every time you're doing something, you get better. That's what's made me a better speaker.
So true. Even though this whole thing is a mask right now, this is the mask for this video.
Yeah.
This is the mask I'm wearing, which today is called Alex the Coolest, and Ramesh is wearing the mask of being Ramesh the Greatest, right?
But when you sort of mention our name, it's just a label. We're just a form, aren't we?
Right. When we get our name, it already puts a wrong image on us.
It's just a label. Ramesh is just a label.
Yeah. It means if you wouldn't have a name, I wouldn't be able to recognize you from other person.
Having a stutter, yeah, of course. Having a stutter
I'll be lost.
is just a label. It's a phenomenon, isn't it? It's a label of disfluency.
I think it's for just writing the fonts down. That's why we need to
And you have to get rid of it. You got to just sort of dissolve it over time. Work on it. Work on your mindset. Work on your psychological side.
But if you don't have a name, you don't exist.
We're just a form. We're just a form of the universe.
You don't pay taxes if you don't have a name. But you don't get any benefits from it.
What about baptism?
Baptism? You mean women naked? Or that's why they're doing it.
We're bringing up a Good Friday topic here.
Oh yeah.
Alex, when you getting crucified?
Soon enough. Do you know what Easter name came from?
What?
Well, it's old Babylonian god Ishtar. Who's the mother of all the violence and all the bullshit.
You're a crazy philosopher. But even though it's you who introduced me to Alan Watts.
I mean, look it up, dude. It's like information is available.
Well, you remember our Speaker's Corner situation? That was
Speaker's Corner.
We gotta go there again.
Yeah.
In a few weeks' time, we'll be at Speaker's Corner, definitely. Alex,
Probably
yeah.
not, but we can promise shit. But well, I say the chances us coming to the Speaker's Corner this year. How many days we have left? 100 days of a year left.
Yeah,
1 to
more than
100.
More than that. Only about.
Our chances are
we're
1
on
to
the
100,
19th.
dude.
I think there's only been 31 plus 28, 59, 59, 90, 109th day of the year. We've got another 200 on. 200 and something.
108 magical number. Yeah, on all those beats, it's always 108 beats. Do you know why?
Why?
Ah,
No, it's been a good podcast. Here
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Have you got any more questions?
Carl Sagan. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's been lovely meeting you again, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you think it's our last time? We should shake hands. And it's a good. Never know, right?
Yeah, who knows?
No.
Hopefully we're on again. Hopefully we can give you more wisdom next time. Ciao.
Bye for now.
It's been lovely. Bye for now.
Our
Mr. Simon.
check our Patreon. Go
Mr.
fuck
Ramesh.
yourself. Yeah.